Well, I can certainly promise division here, ladies and gentlemen. It's emerged today that the UK has more foreign doctors and nurses than any other Western country. Foreign-trained doctors made up more than 38% of our medical workforce in 2023. That compares with less than 20% across 28 developed and developing countries. So tonight we're asking, should we stop all NHS immigration, as in immigration of NHS doctors and nurses, until every British trained doctor has a job? Seconds out, it's round one.
Right, it's me. I'm going to start because nothing Cai says will make sense. You know that. I don't have that much to say because I think the figures actually speak for themselves. When you consider this year that there were 59,698 applications for training jobs. So these are doctors, fully qualified doctors who need an ongoing speciality training post. For 12,743 places, you know there's a problem. 4.7 applicants for every post. Now, these are doctors who have spent 6 to 7 years initially training, then another 2 years getting their registration with the GMC and being able to be fully functioning doctors in any scenario, who have massive debt because medicine is one of the few degrees where you are expected to attend lectures 5 days a week, and there's a hell of a lot of work in between. I know, I've done it, so I can vouch for that. So they've got a massive debt, and it always used to be that you knew you were going to take on this onerous task, but when you came out the other end, you would get a job, and then you would get a training post. So that was the payback for that input. Now, what we need to consider is going back to those first 2 years before these doctors are fully registered. They are doctors, but they need to actually go through FY1 and FY2. And at the end of that, they get their training post. 10.9% of FY2 doctors failed to get a job at the end of that 2 years. So do you know what those doctors do? They go to Australia or New Zealand or Canada, because why wouldn't they? And I fully understand why they would. Then if you look at the actual registrations in 2024, not the total number on the GMC list, the actual number of registrations by the GMC of doctors in 2024 is quite staggering. 66% of all doctors who registered for the first time on the GMC register in 2024 were born and trained abroad. 66%. Think about that. Then let's look at these applications. Of the 25,496 doctors who actually applied for a post-speciality training job, 10,622 were from the UK trained, 14,800 from abroad. They are being outmanoeuvred at every single part of the process. And what you must remember, the UK doctors are working. They're working in the NHS. They're working really hard. The foreign doctors actually have plenty of time to sit and practice for those applications to get it right and get the jobs ahead. 75% of those UK applicants got a job. That left 25% who didn't. 40% of those foreign ones. It is time to stop all recruitment from abroad until every single British-trained born doctor has got a job.
Your personal data could be exposed right now without you even knowing it. And if you want it removed, use incogni.com/GBNews in the description now and get 60% off an annual plan on us. Incogni reach out to the data brokers on your behalf and request that your information be deleted from their databases. And they'll keep sending removal requests to make sure your data stays gone. Sometimes your information ends up on strange, obscure websites that automated tools just can't reach. And that's why Incogni just launched their unlimited plan with a feature called custom removals. With this, you can submit any link where your personal information appears, literally paste in the URL, and their privacy team will investigate and work to get it removed. And getting started is super easy. Hit the link in the description, create an Incogni account, and tell them whose data you want removed. Grant them permission to work on your behalf, and then all you've got to do is sit back and relax. They'll keep you updated along the way. Incogni is totally risk-free for 30 days. If you try it, it's not for you, you'll get a full refund. So take back control of your personal data today with Incogni. Use our code GBNews at checkout via the link in the description, and you'll get 60% off an annual plan.
Full employment if you are a doctor. No, I mean, again,
Yes.
on this issue, we agree to some extent, Dr. Renée, and Wes Streeting himself has said that it has to be an approach where Brits are prioritised over foreign labour. How have we got into this situation for years and years? We've relied on foreign labour instead of building up our own supply of doctors. But that is where we are. The facts, again, speak for themselves. We have 325,000 out of our 1.5 million NHS workforce who are foreign-born. And to approach this in the way that the question is framed, and what Renée won't tell you, is that if we stop all NHS immigration, stop all health and social care visas, stop every single specialty that we might ever want to fill at short notice, urgently, and at the highest quality, we risk total state collapse.
Didn't ask for that.
NHS
I
failure.
asked
That's what we're
UK
talking
doctors
about.
to get
That's what
jobs
we're talking
ahead
about.
of foreign.
What we're talking about is stopping all NHS immigration. And that would be the definition of throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
I don't want a definitional debate on this, but what I do want...
But he's putting words into my mouth. He's saying I want to stop all NHS immigration. I said
It was the question.
I want British doctors.
It was the question.
I said I want British doctors to get jobs before any foreign doctors get jobs.
I'll open this up. There's one element of this which I've never fully understood, and that is the Ponzi scheme aspect of this, Emma, and that is if you are going to bring in a foreign doctor or a foreign nurse, in all likelihood they will come with a husband or a wife, they may come with several dependents, and of course they will all require medical care. Therefore, you are adding to the burden of the NHS on a net basis.
Yeah.
Make that make sense for me.
It doesn't make sense. I can't make it make sense. It is like a Ponzi scheme. It's a scam. Firstly, Renée's right. Nobody voted for this. No one consented to it. And I actually think that the argument that Renée has made is completely watertight. Even the idea that we are somehow hooked, or the NHS is somehow hooked on and dependent on foreign doctors coming over and working in the NHS is just simply not true, because we have invested.
We agree on that,
the point is we have invested. I mean, it is in the sense that factually we have a lot of foreign doctors working in the NHS, but as Renée said with these statistics, it's not that we haven't invested in creating more doctors here. We have plenty of doctors who are sitting there waiting to work, wanting to work, who have been well trained in this country where we know that the standards are high, and then they're having to go to another country in order to get work. It is absolute madness. And also, we're investing in those people while they're here as well. And then they're going off and working in health services in other parts of the world. It is literally madness.
Trey, tell me how you can see both sides.
No, absolutely. I don't think anyone would argue that if we could wave a magic wand, we'd have all of the doctor position be taken by British-born doctors.
Can.
Right, we could. But I spoke about this actually on another debate, and from what I understand, obviously you can correct me if I'm wrong, there's been massive underinvestment in training for a long time. So I guess the rationale is it's quicker to import someone already trained than spend 10 to 15 years training someone else.
Yes,
the ratio.
That's what a lot of
but that's historic. And today we have applicants who are British trained for jobs who are not getting them because those jobs are going to.
But this is the point
that point I can never argue against. If I could choose, it will always go to British-born doctors first.
Can we just be reminded of those statistics again? What is it, like 59,000 applicants for 12,000 jobs? Yeah. There
Exactly
is literally no excuse.
So, Renée, what's the ideological underpinnings of this? Why is this happening?
So going back many, many years, probably about 30 years ago, we did not train enough of our own doctors to fill those spaces. So we got into this habit of recruiting around the world. But that has slowly risen and risen. And people might be surprised that if you look at doctor numbers in the UK, they're actually, I think 30 years ago, it's gone from something like 8,000 doctors to 70,000 doctors. It is exponential. So we have opened up the actual number of doctors that we can train, and the BMA did suppress it for a very long time. We've opened up the number of doctors we can train, but we have not opened up training places. So that's one of the problems. There are not enough training processes for everyone. But certainly in that scenario, we should not then be giving those training places to overseas graduates.
What about retention? Has that been an issue in NHS where a lot of them get trained and then they go off to USA or New Zealand or Australia?
Well, these doctors will go, a lot of them do, but these doctors will go because they can't get a training place. So to lose our own doctors because they can't get a training place is lunacy.
Is there not a merit-based argument also? Because if we accept all of the British doctors, say, right, for these specialist places, all the 59,000, we up the amount of places that's available. Does that not mean that based on nationality, we take everybody of varying quality and completely close the door on some of the best doctors from across 100%. The world? Surely we're a medical centre of excellence in this country.
A meritocracy-based argument from the left. This is exciting. Renee, how do you respond to that?
Look, if we think that our medical training, i.e. the students that we're tipping out of medical school are the best in the world, then we should have no problem doing that, Cai.
The amazing thing here is that the socialist on the panel is making an argument for global capitalism.
You've read me wrong, Eva Trumbull. You've read me wrong.
Yeah, we may be starting to rub off on him, ladies and gentlemen. Just millions of more misguided lefties still to go across the country.